Hello, everybody. Welcome to another month of Career Advice from a Pro. So for those of you who've not been to one of these before, my name is Kathy Nelson. I'm the CEO and founder of the Photo Managers. And every month for many years now, I think we love to feature one of our professional photo managers and ask them a series of questions. It's a great way to introduce to those of you that are thinking about a career, never, just wondering what it's like. You can meet real people who do this, and they come from so many different backgrounds that it's such a joy for me to have these one-on-one conversations. And many of our members also join because it's just a great way to learn about the work that another member is doing and introduce people to one another. And so I'm excited today. And you know what? I'm going to Deronda, right? Am I saying your name right?
Yes, you did well, Kathy. Yes.
Good. I thought, oh, wait a minute, is from Oklahoma and has been a member for over 8 years, since 2014. And so I will let you introduce yourself. And I always like to have people tell a little bit about your background, how you got interested in this, how long you've been a member, and what it is about photo organizing, photo management, what drew you to this as a business.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy. Like Kathy said, I started August 2014. I also was certified then, but it's not an area that I was interested in at all. I have to be honest about that. I have IT background, and in my degree is management science and computer systems. So it's kind of analytical. My last job in corporate America was working for major airlines, and I was a business/data analyst. And my contract had ended after a year. My son had joined a kind of a popular high school baseball team, so I was also having to be chauffeur. So it was a great time to start my business at that time, something I'd been thinking about. And it was website design and designing slideshows. I needed, from being the data analyst, I needed some kind of offset that it kind of was creative. And so that was kind of my outlet. And I'd been doing some design work off and on for years for this other company that I'd worked for. So anyway, so I kind of, went the snail's pace, trying to figure out what avenue I was going to do. And of course, website design was extremely competitive and still is. So my mother, who is, a longtime genealogist, she actually found the APO group. So for those that are not aware of what the APO group was, that is the former name, the Association of Professional Photo Organizers. And so she said, hey, Deronda, this is a great group that you need to think about joining. And I said, Mom, I've got a college degree. I did not go to college to be a photo organizer. But the more I researched, the more it kind of grew on me. And there's a lady that she's no longer in the group, but she designed a lot of slideshows or video montages. There's a lot of different names for that. And I really admired her. And she was a former attorney. And so she had joined the APO group. And I thought, okay, if she can do this, I can do it. And there's a lot of great collaboration. So I signed up to be a member, and then I got certified and joined the Facebook group. And I found the members in the Facebook group to be extremely welcoming, sharing a lot of knowledge, because we do all have different backgrounds. We have different areas of expertise and interest. So that's what's great about this group is sharing and collaborating some ideas, and gotten to know some fellow photo managers from across the country. We've become very good friends. And so yeah, that's kind of how it started. So
that's the beginning, right? Those that have been
at the beginning
a long time. I mean, yeah, there's some wonderful, amazing friendships that have been developed over the years. And I always kind of say to people, we're like a self-selecting group, because if you love photos and stories and nostalgia or legacy or any of those things, it kind of tends to attract a certain personality profile. And so, because one of the biggest compliments we always get is, wow, everybody's so friendly and welcoming and curious about new people. And I think that kind of lends itself. But so here's a question for you. What is it that, so tell us a little bit about what area do you specialize in and how do you find your clients?
Oh, specialize. Okay. So because of the area that I'm in, especially when I first started, I didn't find a lot of other companies that did some of the things that I did. Like I said at the beginning, I was more interested in kind of slideshows, designing, and it grew from there. It's hey, but they wanted me to design, a video, but they didn't have a way of digitizing their photos. And so it grew from there, digitizing photos and slides, and then slowly negatives. And then it went to, hey, but can you can you digitize videos for me? Well, that digitization of the videos has grown, and I've learned. I just jumped in with 2 feet, and I did it kind of the wrong way. And when we get to the other segment, I'll tell you what you shouldn't do. What is the term that your parents might say? Do as I say, don't do as I do. Well, that's kind of me. So I do a variety of things. One is because I like to do a variety of things. I don't like to do the same thing all the time. And let's see, I'm almost losing my train of thought.
Oh, that's okay. It was like, just what type of work so you convert home movies?
I do a lot of things. I digitize.
You're multitask.
Yeah, multitasking. I'm digitizing videos, digitizing memorabilia, photos. I do a lot of design work. I love to design albums, and I just got through designing a video montage. It's from some former state troopers. They have a little Harley group, and they go all over the country, and he's taken his GoPro with him. And so I do video editing, and we add music that's appropriate to where they're going. But I don't get those jobs in all the time. So that has allowed me to do a variety of different things. I might go a month without being asked to digitize movies, and then all of a sudden I might be asked to do 100. Right. So it just kind of goes in spurts. So I fill the gaps in, and of course now it's Christmas time, so I'm getting asked to design a book that has recipes from 3 generations. So yeah.
So from a police video series of travel to a 3-generation recipe book, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And everything in between. Right. And looking finding clients. So my first large one, I just adored, and she's kind of going on her own, but we worked together for several years, and she found me through the Appo group. And so we hit it off. She wasn't, too far away. So we would collaborate, and I digitized a lot of photos for her, did a lot of organization, learning about the family. And what helped me with that was building a family tree, because she had so many generations, and working with 2 family lines, that worked well for me. And so I could get familiar with who the person was, and maybe try to guess, what age and what decade that person might be. Now I find clients there's a local Facebook group that a former news anchor started during COVID. So I've gotten a lot of clients through that. I'm also big into my local chamber. So I've gotten quite a few people from that. I used to belong to a local networking group, which was extremely helpful to me, trying to, narrow down the 60-second pitch, the elevator pitch, and hone down my presentations. But I had to leave during COVID because of some family medical issues during the time, and I had to give up something during that, but I'm very grateful for that group, but still maintain the Facebook group, and I love my chamber. So
That's great. Yeah. So I'm sure at this point, after 8 years too, you're probably known more in your community over time, right? As the person to,
mhm.
if somebody needs something. And do you work full-time or part-time at your business?
I work full time at my business.
Good. Okay. And if people have questions, go ahead and jot them in the chat. I forgot to mention that at the end. We'll make sure we answer your questions. So what has surprised you most about kind of that career change from your IT background and then doing website design to this? Is there something?
It never surprises me what people ask for. And so they do, when I think that I've got it down and I think I know kind of the areas that people will ask, then I just get surprised because they might not find somebody that is quite doing what they want to do. So I don't mind trying something once if I think that I can do it, because it tests my ability, and sometimes creativity, and then sometimes I'll say I'll never do that again. And I've said that a couple of times. So
You know what I love, Deronda, what you're saying, and this theme comes through so much in these interviews, is that a willingness to try, though, a willingness that, everybody, like people, when they think about this as a business or a career, they'll ask me, well, they'll be worried. I don't know how to do this. I don't know, what are they? And I'm always like, but nobody knows how to do a lot of these things, right? What people are paying you for a lot of times is your willingness to figure it out for them. And then
right.
over time you get better at it, right? And you know where to go to get help if you get stuck. Right.
Exactly. So, and I've got that situation right now where I'm looking to other people that have maybe done it. I've done some things, but maybe pull in other resources to help me kind of put the piece of the puzzle together. So,
And what is it that so that's, we talked about how you found clients. What is it that you like most about what you do?
well, it's the variety. And, like I said, I love to design, and I like helping people. So that's the biggest thing. And bridging some of that genealogy interest into some of the projects. And people are constantly, every once in a while, is challenging me. So it's definitely the variety that I like about the job. For me, some people want to do just totally design books or totally design videos. So you have to find find what you're comfortable with, but still be willing to, learn a little bit more and kind of push yourself. But there's nothing wrong with wanting to just do one thing. So
Yeah. We say that a lot too. Do what you love and outsource the rest is a little phrase that we, if you love scanning and you don't want to dwell into digital photo organizing, you don't have to. I mean, you can subcontract that out to another member who only does that. So there's lots of options within the community.
Yes.
Here's the big question that you're going to probably share some, and I think it's really important. I always like to ask both, like, what do you love? But we also want to be realistic about what is it that either you don't like or what's challenging or frustrating for you.
I've thought about that one a little bit. So even though I have a technical background, the one thing that's probably the most challenging is the technical aspect of the photo organizing or the photo management, because technology is constantly changing. You've got one client that may have a PC, the next one may have a Mac, and they've got their photos totally not even maybe organized, but they want to manage their photos differently from one person to the next. So trying to keep up with the technical changes, if a NAS or an external hard drive or maybe various cloud environments may fit that person. So one environment may not fit person A, but it might fit person B. So it's definitely marrying the technical aspects with the person and what they can handle.
One thing that our members, we just finished a 3-day virtual conference on pricing and profitability. We had a panel discussion about, and we asked each person, like maybe what was most challenging, and everyone, and these are very experienced members, said the imposter syndrome, which I was really surprised by some of the people that said that, because I can kind of put them up on a pedestal myself. Like, how do you have imposter syndrome? But do you ever feel that feeling sometimes, that when the technology, right? Like, oh, people think I know all these things and I don't, and that it made me realize you can't know everything. Nobody knows everything, right? But
that is right. Mac is not my friend. I've tried it, and I pretty much said, okay, I've tried it a couple of times, and that's where I'll just throw up my hands saying, okay, I'm not a Mac person. Let's go find you somebody else that might be better fit to help you out. So, I'm willing to say where my limitations are. So,
and you don't have to know. Where we have other members, there was just a great article, Pexel to Pix, just did, and Isabel Devereaux out of Brooklyn. She only works with. She's the opposite of you. She only will work with Mac clients. She turns anybody else away, because that's her niche. That's where she's most comfortable. So
that's right.
What skills do you feel like from your past work life experience help you to be successful? And I ask this question a lot because I think we underestimate maybe our backgrounds, like what we've learned in past careers. Because for many people, this is a career change or a second act career. What skills did you find that have you drawn on over the years?
One of them, I'd worked for, being in Oklahoma, I worked for a major oil and gas company for quite a few years. And I was an IT analyst. I had different roles over time. I did everything from training to some design work, writing proposals, and also speaking, which I'm still working on speaking. I find myself saying a few times. So even though I practice, so I apologize for that if I said that probably more than 20 times. So it's building on my business background. A lot of the times, some of it's the genealogy, but it's definitely bringing my business background from the company that I worked for over the years. I don't know if that might be too broad, but there's a lot of things that I bring over from that.
Yeah, I find that, people underestimate the skills that they might be bringing to a new business experience, that they don't realize that things that they did in their past career actually can really be helpful.
Definitely.
What advice would you give to people just getting started?
Okay, so unlike me, where I'm jumping in with both feet and learning, let's say digitizing videos. That's kind of a common question, I think. And starting with like VHS tapes, because if you want to do digitization of movies, let's say, I would start with one piece of equipment. Start with your VHS tapes. Get to know, because you've got to have, you've got to be able to know what software works best. You've got to have a converter going from the VHS tape to the computer, the software being able to recognize the video, and then what types of VHS machines will work best and give you more of a professional look. It's the trimming, the beginning and the end. Do you want to do that? Do you want to, and working on your workflow. So that's what I would do if I were going to start with digitization, is getting familiar with your equipment, getting familiar with your workflow before you start the next one, and then learning, what might fit your area. If it's mini DVs, that's a whole other, connection, cassette tapes, and you might get somebody that's, after a year saying, hey, can you do this? And so I get familiar with the computer, the environment, and your workflow first.
And let's just for a moment, we use that word a lot, like getting your workflow. And just for people that maybe not familiar with when you say workflow, what do you picture in your mind when you're using that word?
Your process. So let's say converting VHS tapes. So you've got to be able to get them from the tape to the computer, but how are you going to do that? You know, what equipment are you going to use? And then when you're digitizing, you know, do you want to do a numbering system, which I like to do? It's very comfortable for me as I worked with data for several years. And then where are you going to put that digitized tape? Is it just one tape? Is it going to be 50 tapes? How are you going to get that tape to the client in a manner that is makes sense to them? Do you want to rename the file names if they want a digitized version? Do they want it on a DVD, which I still have a lot of people that still insist on DVDs. You're going to get them to the cloud. So that's it's a broad example of the workflow. How are you going to get it from A to B and then in the hands of the client? So
right. And the goal is to document that for yourself over time, where you have, you know, so then maybe it's been 6 months, right, since somebody asked you to do something, instead of like being at a blank slate.
right.
You can like look at your notes. Oh, the first thing I do is this, and this. That's kind
Yes.
of the,
How did I do that? Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
I've had a few of those.
that's an important part. It's funny though, with the DVDs, my son started, he actually just quit his job a few months ago and started a scanning and conversion business because he's more interested in this after watching me all these years. And somebody that we had converted all their home movies to DVD. Now he wants them ripped from the DVD to an MP to a movie file because his kids can't watch it on the DVD. So it's crazy. This, you know, like technology goes out of it keeps changing, and it's just almost, it's a shame he has to redo it all again. But
right, and you've got to be able to keep up with that. So yeah, and
right.
For those that don't know what ripping is, that is taking your DVD and putting it into the DVD player in your computer, and there's software that will actually read what's on that DVD and convert it to a digital file, you know, like if it's MP4 or something like that. So
right. And then you can upload that to YouTube or to Vimeo or different places, so people can then access it from their phone, or, you know, watch it, you know, so they can watch those home movies. So
right.
One last question, and we've got questions coming in from folks. How is membership? I know you kind of mentioned that first it was APO, the Association of Personal Photo Organizers. Now we're the photo managers, and we did that really is because organization is just one piece of it. Management, and in some ways, it's so interesting talking to you, Deronda. We've talked a lot about video, which, you know, we could have a whole conversation with a different pro who just outsources all the video and they don't touch it at all, right? I mean, it just shows you that it's really about managing not just photos too. It's photos, videos, memorabilia. It's just hard to genealogy. There's so many pieces of it. But how has membership helped you in your business and in growing and adding all these things?
Wow. It's I don't think I would be as far as I am today without the association. It's not, like I said before, being able to collaborate with other people and their experiences, their ideas, has been a valuable resource. Also, the webinars that Kathy and Isabel and the others have come up with over the years, the training programs. There's other colleagues that are experts in their own areas and they provide training. So if you want to learn something, this is the group to learn from. And if we can't find something, then we'll find an expert that can help us. So
yeah. Our overall philosophy is a rising tide lifts all boats, and that we are collaborative, not competitive. That's kind of the value proposition of our organization. And I think that, you know, it just has borne itself out year after year, more and more. And
yeah, that's exactly what I think about it is this is the first association I belong to, or if anybody of my peers, where I didn't feel like it was competitive whatsoever. It was definitely collaboration of efforts and thoughts and ideas.
yeah, there's way more clients who need photo organizers than there are photo organizers by, I mean, who else is in Tulsa? Are you the only person in Tulsa? You might be, or might be one or two maybe, but.
Yeah, there's two others that have tried with this group over the years. I don't think they made it past a year. And there's a company that sells TVs and electronics, and they do some digitization. It's more video. I think there might be one other one that does a few of the things that I do. So, but I'm on one side of Tulsa and they're on the other. So,
Yeah, it's just a wide open market.
yes.
All right. Well, this has been fascinating. There's questions I've noticed been coming in. Isabel, can you want to go ahead and read out the questions?
Yes, give me 1 second to find the first one. So we have a question from someone who's wondering about scanning, and that it's a quite tedious process. Is that something that you outsource?
I do it myself. I'm kind of a control freak, and I like to do it myself. So I started out with a flatbed scanner, and then the next big thing was the automatic sheet feed. Well, I had such an awful time with that sheet feed. It did what I was afraid that it would do. Sometimes the photos would get stuck or you have debris in there. I know this isn't quite your question, but I slowly converted to camera scanning. That's the latest thing, and I'm sticking with that one. It is a learning curve, but in the end, it's really cut down on my process, because I can go straight from the camera into Lightroom, which is a lot of what we do, and then straight into Lightroom. I can check as I'm scanning to make sure that I've got my color right, or it's positioned right, or it's not too wonky. And so I like camera scanning, and it's not quite as tedious. And again, that's where it comes back from the workflow. Do a few things, get comfortable with your process, and before you go on to scrap albums, and that's a whole other thinking, and then you're dealing with warped photos, and how am I going to keep it straight while it's scanning? And so there's a lot of aspects to scanning photos and slides and negatives.
Yeah, and Deb, I think it's Deb who asked that question. You can outsource that if you want. Some of our members do outsource it to other members who enjoyed the process, and there is a learning curve. We do have a course on camera scanning too, that it's become the way many people have kind of been shifting slowly, partly because there's been they're no longer manufacturing a lot of the kind of scanners that people needed. You can still, but just starting out with a good flatbed is not a bad place to start. So I think hopefully that answered your question. Isabel, next question.
For those that are just starting out, do you have any recommendations for PC monitors that would be good for photo editing and genealogy programs?
I'm looking at mine. It's a Samsung, because I do some photo restoration as well. And I have to have reading glasses. So I need a really big monitor. It's, I believe it was a 2K. It's a few years old now, but it's a 24-inch. I'd say the bigger, the better if you can afford it. Go with the biggest one. Like I said, it's a Samsung, and I've been very happy with this monitor. I think I got it on clearance or it's an open box from Best Buy. And so it was the highest resolution that I could afford. And that's what I would recommend. Samsung's been a very good brand, and get the biggest and the best resolution that you can afford. I hope that answered your question.
And do you have any, do you have any favorites as far as photo book companies that you use?
I do. So there was a call, I think just a few months ago, somebody had asked a similar question. And I started with thinking, I've got to provide the world. And I've got to learn all these different photo book companies that are out there. So I spent a lot of money trying to figure out which book I liked, how I liked the software to be able to upload the designs to. In the end, and it depends on the client's budget as well. So what I've narrowed it down to is Blurb, which is it's kind of the lower end. It's more budget friendly, and they offer it's a consumer publisher. The other one is Miller's Lab, and that's meant for businesses. So you've got to have a business to be able to be a client of theirs. But they own MX, and yes, so that's more of a that's a consumer side of their company. But I like the quality. So when you go into evaluating book publishers, you've got to incorporate, okay, so some of them you might be able to compare apples to apples, but not all. Miller's, you got to think about shipping. So even though maybe Shutterfly might be great and they've got a huge discount, well, how much is it going to cost for shipping? So you've got to take those things into account when you're looking at photo book. But Miller's Pro, I've got an example here. So this is like they have books and they have albums, and the albums are the higher end, and the books they call the lower end. They're less expensive, but I like the quality because the stiffer pages, it's a little bit more durable. And you can have them in different sizes. Whereas, okay, Blurb, I don't have it right there. This one I think maybe it was Shutterfly or something I did way back when for a family thing, but you can tell the difference. This is more floppy. So those are things to consider when you're looking at photo book publishers. That might be more information than what you wanted, but
any other questions anybody have here that is going to come in? I think. Well, this has been great information on book paper. Another company that a lot of us use that recommend is called Printique. They need to change the name. I think it's a hard name, but Printique has prints much more vibrant colors because of the inkjet. They don't use an inkjet. I forget the difference between the kind of printer that they use, but they're a consumer company as well, and they're out of New York. Adorama, actually, they're owned by Adorama.
Yes, yeah, Adorama changed to Printique, and I did look them up, and it's not quite when you go to a book publisher, typically they'll do RGB or CYMK, which is using two different ink. RGB is 3 colors, CMYK is 4 colors. So you have to be careful when you're working in a software. What color mode are you working in, and what color mode does the book publisher need to have? So you've got to make sure you're speaking apples to apples when you're going to a book publisher. Printique is kind of it's a step up above RGB. I think they use 6 inks, I thought I saw, but it was kind of interesting on their coloring system. So we need to have them as a webinar sometime. If I missed it.
And somebody's question went real fast, but is there a market for used flatbed scanners? I think there was a huge market for flatbed scanners on eBay, because during the COVID, a lot of people bought scanners to scan their photos. So I would look at eBay as an option, as a place, right? eBay is where people sell things used, right? Yeah.
Yes. eBay is more popular. Yes.
Yeah. I would think there's a market for that for sure. Okay, I think Isabel's answering the last of it, but Deronda, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate your time with us today, and hopefully if people have more questions and things, you can always email us at support@thephotomanagers.com. If you're thinking about this as a career, hopefully this gave you a different way of thinking about it. Each month we bring you a different person who approaches it from very different levels, and also to our members there, thank you for joining us. And everybody says, enjoy the fall, and the holidays are getting ready to come up. So it's a busy time of year for everybody. And so
Yes.
thank you so much for your time today. It's been really
Okay.
fun to chat with you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Kathy.
Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.